In this video today, I'm giving you my first impressions of this sleeping pad here, the Kilos Gear AeroCloud UL sleeping pad. This has been one of the most requested items for me to share my experience with here on the channel as of late, particularly after I shared my review of the AeroCloud Elite pad, which is the blue version of this that has some slight differences. But I got so many messages, so many comments from people saying, hey, what do you think about the ultralight version that just came out? And so that's what we're gonna do today. Now, this video is not sponsored by Kilos Gear in any way. No money was exchanged to make this video. They did, however, share samples of this pad for me to test and use and share here on the channel with my real world experience. And so that's what we're doing today. I've been able to get 4 nights of use with the UL pad in various conditions. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But this pad is exciting for people. And the reason for that, I think, is the price point. This comes in at just over $100. Now, it's available in 2 sizes. You have a regular wide, like I have here in front of me, that is 72 inches long, 25 inches wide. And you have a large version that is 26 inches wide and 79.5 inches long. So a pretty large pad, which is awesome to see. Most of the time, long pads are going to be in the 77 to 78 inch range. This gives you a much wider and significantly longer pad for tall people that need that kind of length or just want a much larger pad for warm weather conditions and that kind of thing. So the price point for this that is very enticing is the regular is $110 USD and the size large is $120. Now, what you have otherwise for the specs is a single layer of Mylar insulation that is inside of the pad here, and that allows for an ASTM rated R value rating of 3.8. So let's dig into that R value and the insulation here in the pad just a touch more, because that's what I think is going to be the differentiator between getting this or the Elite version, or maybe some other different pad that might sleep a bit warmer. Like I said, you have 1 layer of Mylar insulation inside of the pad. That Mylar insulation does go to the bottom of the pad. It is not suspended. So what that can create is some cold spots, because around each of the weld points on the baffles here, you do have cutouts where that insulation just goes down. My experience so far with the pad has been up in high elevation settings, 11,000 feet, low 40s overnight, summer conditions, and I've slept just perfectly warm, no cold spots. Awesome night of sleep. I really enjoyed being in those temperatures and getting a good night of sleep. So I did not have any problems. What I am wanting to test and get more experience with over time to kind of see where is the limit for this pad based off of how it's constructed is, as I move into the fall season, what the ground temperature change is going to be like that adjusts how this pad keeps you warm and provides that insulation value. That'll be pending, that'll be coming. I'm not gonna give a definitive of I slept down to 40 degrees, so this is gonna be amazing at 40 degrees. I wanna see how the ground temperature changes and what that does in affecting how warm this pad sleeps. But that at least gives you a baseline of where I've been at. Now, I've been out here in the desert where temperatures have been down into the low 50s, but I've also been sleeping on soaking wet ground, and that can get cold, and still have not had any cold spots from the last 2 nights that I spent on this pad. So I'm impressed. Based off of the initial time with it, that is very positive for me, and I'm enjoying it from that aspect. Now, a few other design aspects here of the UL pad are the fabric that's used is a 40 denier polyester pongee. That 40 denier fabric does make for a good, strong, durable fabric that is going to hold up to, I don't know, just some abuse and wear and such over time. You also have a quilted baffling pattern that makes for a very comfortable lay, and I honestly just prefer so much to have a quilted baffling because it makes it way more comfortable. Because you have that slightly thicker fabric, that stronger fabric, it just makes for a bit more support as well. Like when I'm sitting here, I'm not tacoing the pad, and I'm not falling to the ground. As I'm moving around and such on the pad, I am hearing that insulation kind of crinkling, but it's not excessively loud. I don't hear like so much that I'm like, yeah. Let's just say it's not a NeoWear X-Lite. But there is a little bit of sound from that Mylar insulation, and that's gonna be typical for any pad that uses a Mylar insulation inside. Now, what about the weight of this pad? So the size regular is gonna come in at 17.6 ounces, and the size large is gonna be 20.8 ounces. That's a great weight for everything that you get from this pad. It's 4 inches thick. It is quilted in the baffling. It has a Mylar sheet of insulation. That is a respectable weight, especially if you compare it to like the Zoom UL. This is probably the most similar pad that I have to compare to the UL pad. Now, this pad is significantly more expensive, but the characteristics of the Zoom UL are very similar. So I am curious to see how this UL pad does. As I explained earlier, that once you get into colder ground temperatures, how is it going to do? Because the Big Agnes Zoom UL, this pad sleeps cold. This is not my favorite pad from a warmth standpoint. It's a very comfortable pad. It's also about the same weight in the 17-ounce range, and it just sleeps cold. I have more issues with cold nights of sleep on the Zoom UL than anything else, and this boasts a like 4.2 R value, so higher than the Keyless gear. So that's where I'm curious to see what the difference and such is going to be like if the Zoom UL just has issues, or if you're going to experience similar things with the UL. That's where more testing needs to happen to see what the limit is of this UL pad. Now, a couple things to wrap this up here. This pad does come with a pump sack that's very similar to the Nemo Vortex pump sack, and just connects to the valve that's here on the corner. I like that the valve is on the corner of the pad. It makes it really easy to dump air, especially when you're rolling things up compared to some of the Big Agnes options. You have a two-way valve, so you've got this single flap and then another flap that is your full dump valve. This thing, for the price point, I'm excited about. I do want to do more testing with it, but considering the time that I have with the Elite version that is very similar, it uses the same fabric, it uses the same size and design of the baffles and everything, it just has a different insulation inside. That pad has been fantastic. I have enjoyed it so much. In fact, I think it's one of the best pieces of gear that has come out in 2024. So we're gonna do more testing, like I said, with the UL pad. I will share a further review after I get that testing done with lower ground temperatures and ambient temperatures as well. But I think for the price point, you've got to win here. This is fantastic. So with that, I'll report back, let you know what my findings are. But thanks for watching today, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Hope you have an awesome day. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.